Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Tiff Klein. This is episode 11. I want to thank you all for the support. I'm almost at 750 downloads, so thank you. It means the world to me that you're tuning in. If you could please just give me an honest review and rating, I'd greatly appreciate it. I am on all your favorite platforms. This has been so much fun, and I'm learning so much about all of you and the things I've been talking about, which leads me to this episode because I watched the series Murdaugh, Death in the Family twice. And once I watched by myself, and then I watched when I was with my dad back in Ohio. And wow, what a wild ride that is, right? So I didn't follow the Murdaugh case when it first happened because I was heavily invested in the Lori Vallow and Gabby Petito cases. So I didn't really catch up to speed until recently. But I'm well versed and well rounded in it now. I just want to say I thought the show was excellent, and Mandy did a great job. Hulu did a great job, and it wouldn't surprise me if Hulu starts buying other podcasts off people and streaming it into a series because it was very popular. I didn't read any bad things about it. I know some of the questions were the final episode. Spoiler alert that Buster had asked Alec why he didn't ask him to come home that night that Paul and Maggie were murdered, and people are saying that conversation never happened. Buster was never asked that, or Buster never asked Alec that. But it does make you wonder. There was a line where Alec had said, well, if you came home, you probably would have been shot too. So who's to say? I feel bad for Buster. I know he sticks up for his dad, but you got to think the position he's in. He lost everybody in his family within a few days, his grandpa, his mom, his brother, basically his dad. And I think he's not naive. I don't think he's stupid, but I think he's just traumatized and wants to believe that his dad didn't do it. But I don't think he's that dumb to think that he didn't. And I know everybody brought Buster up about the Stephen Smith case, and there was no actual proof that he had anything to do with it. And some said they just stirred the pot just because the Murdaughs were all in trouble. And let's throw Buster in it too. And I know that Stephen Smith's case is being investigated still, and he was exhumed and whatnot. So I prayers to the family, and I hope they get answers as well. Just a wild case. I'm currently reading a book, The Devil at His Elbow by Valerie Bauerlein. I saw it on TikTok, so I ordered it. It's a really damn good book so far. She was at some of the trials and interviewed a lot of people, and nothing in the book is fictionalized. It's all accounted for. So, yeah, it's called The Devil at His Elbow, and it goes into the backstories of the Murdaughs in each one. And right now I'm at the part where they found Mallory Beach. So it's a pretty good book. There's another book I want to read. It's the opposite. It's supposed to be like from the defendant's point of view. So I'm going to try to read that one. I can't remember what it's called right now, but yeah, I'm really invested in this case now. I mean, I knew it happened along the years, but I didn't know the depths of it. But I saw the news today that, according to Court TV, disgraced attorney Alec Murdaugh will return to court in 2026 as he pushes for a new trial that goes before the South Carolina Supreme Court. The justices announced they would hear Murdaugh's appeal of his murder conviction on February 2026 at 9:30. Now remember, in our judicial system, you have the right to appeal. So he's not being treated differently just because he's a Murdaugh. Everybody has the right to appeal. Murdaugh was sentenced to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole for the murders of his youngest son, Paul, and his wife, Maggie. The 2 were shot to death on June 7th, 2021, on the Moselle property where the once prominent attorney lived with his family. So he is getting another trial February 11th. They say it's a bid for a new trial because Murdaugh's attorneys focus on a lack of physical evidence tying the defendant to the murders, even though Paul came back from the grave and that Snapchat video showed up having Alec's voice in the background calling for Bubba. And there was prejudicial evidence that they say should not have been shown to the jury, and allegedly jury tampering by the clerk of the court, Becky Hill. I know she's in some deep shit. I keep hearing her name everywhere. And I watched a thing on Fox Nation that some of the jurors are speaking up saying that she bribed them and threatened them. Becky Hill, again, as of Court TV states, served as Colleton County Clerk of Court during Murdaugh's trial and is facing felony charges of perjury, obstructing justice, and misconduct in the office. She is accused of allowing media to access sealed exhibits and inappropriately using her office to promote the book she wrote on the Murdaugh murders. Murdaugh's attorneys say her behavior went beyond that and have accused her of making comments to the jury that suggested the defendant was guilty. At a previous hearing focused on the allegations, Judge Jean Toll refused to overturn Murdaugh's guilty verdicts on the strength of some fleeting and foolish comments by a publicity-seeking clerk of court. Regardless of whether Murdaugh gets a new trial, he will spend decades behind bars. He was sentenced to 40 years pleading guilty to financial crimes. So, February 11th at 9:30 a.m., they will hear Murdaugh's appeal of his murder conviction. Now, it's not another trial. That's just when they will hear his appeal, and then they will decide from there if he's going to get a new trial. Odds are probably slim to none, and he's going to really have to prove a lot of evidence to be able to turn this around. I mean, he's not getting out of those 40 years for all the financial crimes he did. He's still staying in for 40 years, and he's older. So, I mean, regardless if they could turn it around and say he didn't murder Paul and Maggie, he's still going to be in for 40 years because he did admit to that. So Buster, apparently he finished law school, but he got married in May 2025 to Brooklyn, who stayed by his side through it all. I'm not sure what Buster's doing, but I'm sure Buster will be in that courtroom to hear his father's appeal. I would imagine if people are allowed in there. I feel like Buster's just put in a rough spot because he wants to be there for his dad, but I know he's not naive enough. I mean, I know he's not. Do I believe Alec did it himself? Did he pull the trigger? I'm going to put myself out there and say I don't think he pulled the trigger. And I want to hear your thoughts. I want you to, email me or comment on my socials or DM me. I don't think Alec pulled the trigger, but I do think he was on the site when it happened. I think other people did it for him because he didn't have the balls to do it himself. And I do think he just spiraled out of control, but I don't think he could do it himself. I don't know who I think did it, but I also feel like some family members were involved. I don't think it was Buster, but I just don't think the man pulled the trigger. And I think he wants to clear the family's name. I feel like I'm the only person on the earth that really doesn't think that Alec pulled the trigger. Now, I think he was part of the conspiracy to have them murdered, and he either paid somebody or bribed somebody or something. Some people say it was the cartel because he owed them drug money. I don't believe in that one. I think it was his only way out was because Maggie had that beach house and he needed the money, and I'm sure the two had life insurance claims on them, and he wanted to make sure Buster was taken care of. That's why he tried taking his own life for a $10 million life insurance policy. And I don't think Maggie was a lot of people are saying that the show saying that she was trying to get a divorce was a lie, that she may have mentioned it once years prior, but she wasn't actively seeking a lawyer for a divorce. So I don't think that's why he took her life or whoever pulled the trigger. She either was just there and they had to get rid of her because of Paul, or he needed that money from the beach house. And those are the only real reasons why I think she was taken. And I have to get that new book by Blanca, their housekeeper, because apparently she's spilling the beans. I know there was a YouTube video of them interviewing her, and she thought it was very weird that Maggie's clothes were laid out on the floor. And she said Alec was very, always trying to get on everybody's good side. We all know the story. And she never met Gloria, but she worked with Gloria's relatives, and she knows the whole insurance settlement fraud that went through with that case and how the sons didn't see anything. But there's a part in the show on Hulu that he says just because you don't want to pay a bill doesn't mean it ain't due. Well, he doesn't want to pay this bill, and he doesn't, he's in jail and he doesn't want to serve the time for it, is what it is. He doesn't want to pay that bill. So he's now going to appeal it on February 11th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. And I'm just curious to see if they will grant this and have another trial. I mean, if that Becky Hill is looking at charges, again, if you get on Fox Nation, you have to have a subscription, but 7 days are free. The first 7 days, some of the jurors did step up and say that she did mess with the case. So if so, it could have a mistrial, but it doesn't mean that the outcome's going to change. And again, he's in for 40 years anyway for the financial crimes. And poor Mallory Beach just, dropped the civil lawsuit the day that Randolph, the grandfather, was found, or that he passed away. So they never really ever had to pay for it. They didn't want Paul dead. They didn't want Paul in jail. They just wanted him to take accountability and be responsible for it and apologize. And they couldn't even get that from the kid. But we'll see. We'll see. It's just a wild ride. And the more you research it, it's almost like you couldn't even make a movie script like this. Like, this guy was like, how he says, a tangled web we weave. You just keep going and going and going and get yourself tangled in a big web. Like, I get it. But he did this for years, and it wasn't until Paul had gotten that boat wreck that made the dominoes fall down. And that's when all the family secrets started coming out. So I don't know if they ever would have. I don't know if they would have ever, felt if they would ever fell if Paul never wrecked that boat. But I mean, it was bound to happen. It was like the game of Jenga. The bricks were just, they weren't balanced. Something was bound to happen and fall, and all the family secrets came out. And if it wasn't for Paul, it would have been something else that he would have done, or something Alec would have done, or maybe he stole too much from the wrong family. Who knows? I know a lot of those victims got some money back. I'm not sure how much, but it's just, how could you just treat people that way? How could you just steal millions from people and not, I guess, I mean, that's an evil person. Alec Murdaugh had really dark eyes, really dark eyes. But, and he said to Mag's sister on the day of their funeral, someone who did this has been thinking about it a long time. And the sister was just like, she didn't know what that meant. It was kind of taken back. I would be too. I'd just be like, it's just a weird thing to say at a funeral. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see if he goes. I mean, it's possible they might, if Becky Hill really messed with it, then it's possible that they might grant him another trial. I don't know if the conviction's going to be any different, but we're going to at least give him the chance because everybody gets that right. And I know a lot of people don't think he should, or a lot of people think, an eye for an eye, or he shouldn't be allowed that, but it is our judicial system and everyone's allowed to appeal trial. And if he has enough evidence and enough hearsay and information to prove that Becky did mess with the trial, then he better come with the best evidence he can. But again, he's not going to get out anyway because he's in for 40 years for financial crimes that he did plead guilty to. Now, he might get his sentence for that, lessened for good behavior or something, but he's not getting out anytime soon. It must put Buster in just a hard situation. I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine that. And his brothers, Randy and John Marvin, got screwed because the whole family dynasty was built over 80 to 100 years, and everything the whole family worked for fell because Paul's boat hit that bridge. And I'm sure they're pissed, but he's still their brother. Some people think that they had something to do with it. Buster and John Marvin were the ones that got rid of the guns. And some people think that Randy was the one that pulled the trigger because he was teaching Alec a lesson and took Maggie and Paul out because Paul ruined the family name and Maggie just happened to be there. I don't know. There's so many different ways. But what we do know is Alec Murdaugh was found guilty, the murder of his son Paul and the murder of his wife Maggie, 2 life sentences and 40 plus years in prison for financial fraud scams. So that's what the jury came up with. Sometimes it doesn't matter what we think or what we say or any evidence that could show, but you have to go on facts, not always circumstantial evidence. And I do believe if that damn Snapchat video didn't appear, he may have gotten off. But like people say, Paul came back for his ass from the grave, and it's crazy. And it's crazy how, if you guys remember in the show, if this actually happened, Maggie sharing location on with Alec. So when he threw her phone out the window after he murdered her phone tracked his truck, and then GPS on his truck tracked him, and it slowed down when he threw her phone out the window and then sped up, taking off. Her phone tracked it too, so no, not everything in the show was real. They had to do some of it for entertainment purposes, but for the majority, I believe it's real. Mandy did an excellent job, and Brittany Snow did a great job. I think the actors all resembled the real family. It was good. It was a good written series, and I hope to see more podcasts get turned into a show because, it's just, it's interesting. And Hulu, I think, did a good job at bringing that to life for Mandy. And I really hope she's at CrimeCon. That would be really cool. And in Vegas. And I would like Buster to go, believe it or not. I would like to hear him speak live. And a lot of people are like, oh, he'll just defend his dad. Yeah, he might. But it would still be interesting to hear him speak. I don't know. I guess maybe we'll see after if Alec gets his appeal or not. Maybe Buster will come to CrimeCon if he's invited, and we'll see. But yeah, that was my update for the Murdaughs. Again, I'm reading the book The Devil at His Elbow. It's pretty good so far. I'm almost halfway through it. I've been reading one true crime book a week, so that's it right now. Last week I read Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Jeffrey. Before that, I read Unsolved: The JonBenet Ramsey Murder by Paula Woodward. Before that, I read For Lacey by Sharon Rocha, the Lacey Peterson story. Death of Innocence by John and Patsy Ramsey. I read The Perfect Father about Chris Watts, and I have about 20 other books I have to read. I've been trying to read one a week, but I'm going to jump off this episode because I'm going to be interviewed live on Danny After Dark. Some of you may know her from CrimeCon. Danny reads true crime, and we connected on Instagram. I did not have the pleasure of meeting her at CrimeCon because I was running around like a nut trying to do everything I wanted to do. And I didn't go into Podcast Row a lot, but she has an official book club and you can find her on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. At the beginning of the month, she does a poll to vote on a book to read. And then they do a live review on her channel at the end of the month on YouTube. Anyone can participate, even if you don't want to be on camera. You can comment during the show and in the chat. If there is a month you can't, no worries. You can jump in and out anytime. So you can follow her. And she will talk on YouTube, and I follow her. She's great. She's a good personality. Now, I've only met her through social because, again, I didn't get to meet her, but she did have a booth at CrimeCon, and I did grab some stickers, but you can follow her at Danny After Dark on YouTube, Danny_after_dark on Instagram, the Danny After Dark at gmail.com, and buymeacoffee.com. Danny After Dark. So she's got the purple background. Her graphic is her with a book. The book is purple. And she will be at Beyond the Crime Convention April 11th and 12th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She will have a booth and she'll be doing a live show. So get your tickets for this convention. It's one you don't want to miss. And to save on your ticket cost, use Beyond-Dark and get your code. So give her a follow. She's awesome. And I will be back with another episode soon. Stay tuned, stay warm, and I will talk to you soon.